And we welcome you into Dodger Poke Report, where tonight we have a very, very, very special guest all the way from Australia, 6'8", Cameron Gibbens, a right-handed pitcher in the Dodgers organization. Cameron, I can't thank you enough for coming on to Dodger Poke Report tonight with me.
Thanks, Casey. Pleasure to be here.
All right, let's back it all the way up. Berwick City Baseball Club, the Melbourne. Of course, I learned something when I was doing this research. I just always assumed it was Melbourne. I guess it's Melbourne. Melbourne is the way that you pronounce Melbourne, Australia, and the Melbourne area. Berwick City Baseball Club, huge to you. I know all of your family went through that, going all the way back to the 90s. So talk about your baseball days all the way back with the Berwick Baseball Club.
Yeah. So I played at that club. I played at that club from when I was 4 or 5 years old, all the way at T-ball. And it's basically just like your regular local club. We lived, right around the corner. So I just went there on the weekends and trained there and all whatnot. And I played all the way from T-ball up to seniors and played in their first. So I wasn't a pitcher for the whole time. I was a bit of a two-way kind of. When I was 16, I went more into the pitching, and then from there, I played there all the way up until when I got signed.
I must say I'm not totally familiar with is the high school setup the same in Australia as it is in the United States, in the sense that you start in 9th grade, go through 12th, and you have sports through the school, or is it all through clubs like the Berwick City Club?
Nothing like America. Yeah, so it's just all recreation on the weekends. In high school, you have your inter-school sport, which is just during the week. Maybe during the schooling day, you might have regular sports like badminton and table tennis, like lots of random sports that you would play during the week. But yeah, no big sports, no big team sports or anything like that. But as serious as it is in America.
22-year-old, you get picked up by the Melbourne Aces in their developmental league, if I have my information correct, and then you spend a little bit of time there, and then finally you get to pitch with the big club in 2019, 2020. You had the honor of getting to pitch in the championship game. You got to close the last 3 outs of that. So take us through your experience with the Melbourne Aces pitching professionally in Australia.
Yeah, bit of a whirlwind. I tried out for the Aces for a long time, from when I was 18 up until when I got selected for the team, and never made it. No, I was never selected for the squad, but I got a lot better and was playing at Berwick City Cougars for a long time before getting selected at, as you said, probably 22, 23. And that first year that I was on the team, I only threw maybe 3 innings for the team, and I went on one like away series, which was awesome. The ABL over here, it's pretty cool. You get to travel all around Australia, and you fly everywhere. It's a great league to be at. A lot of imports that have come over said, it's one of the best experiences they've had. But yeah, and then the following year I was selected again for the team, and I had a bit more of an impact. I got thrown in there with Peter Moylan was the pitching coach for the Aces, pretty well-known name from the Atlanta Braves and lots of other major league teams, to be honest. And he threw me into lots of really tough situations, and I kept getting out of them, and they kept putting me in there. And then before you know it, I was the guy that they went to in the pen in the championship game.
You just got through describing your professional career with the Melbourne Aces. You've also talked about, the recreational baseball as you grew up. What got you interested in baseball? I mean, being in Australia and the situation that you described, what exactly got you interested in playing this game?
I'd say family. So growing up, my dad played, my brothers played, older brother played, and my uncles also had played in the past in a local league. And from there, I just, as kids do, whatever dad does or whatever the older brother does, you want to try and do. And that just kind of got me into it. And I'd played ever since. I played a little bit of soccer and other sports outside of school here and there, but I'd always played baseball since I was, really young.
And you mentioned your just a minute ago, your experience with the Melbourne Aces and how neat that was for you. And you actually got to pitch for them, as you talked about, in 2020, while the minor league season was canceled here in the United States. So do you feel like that was an advantage for you, the fact that you got to pitch professionally while all the other minor leaguers here didn't?
Definitely. Yeah, for sure. After that 2020 shock, I was only there for a week. I went to the spring training, and I was there for 7 days, and then all the stuff happened with COVID, and they sent us back home. So yeah, I had whatever it was, 18, 20 hours of travel in a week, which was crazy. And then I got to come back and have that whole year to. I mean, we were locked down here in Australia. It was pretty bad, but I definitely didn't take it lightly. I worked pretty hard, and eventually I built a mound in my backyard and actually had to throw to a net, which was pretty crazy. And then, yeah, that whole year I kind of built up, and lockdowns got easier and easier. I threw with a few friends that were also pro guys that were back here. And that kind of, shot me to a really good level. And then the ABL season started, played for the Aces, and had that, 9-10 outings in that month-long to 2-month-long season. And yeah, for sure. I believe that had, that gave me such a good start to the minor league season. I was so far ahead of a lot of guys that hadn't played in almost 2 years. Yeah.
Have the Dodgers ever told you this kind of how they noticed you and what kind of stuck out about you that made them want to pursue you?
It's definitely the velocity on my fastball.
Yeah.
From a lot of Australians. There's a lot of Australian pitchers, a lot of really good pitchers over here, but they don't necessarily have the strength training up to pitching and velocity. And I was kind of a diamond in the rough, I guess you could say. I came out of nowhere, and a friend of mine as well, Mitch Ellis. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's in the Royals organization. We both got signed at the same time. We both had really similar years. Signed at the same time, had that whole year off, and us two were, if not now, then at that point as well, the hardest throwers in Australia. So they took notice of that, and that was a big stepping stone. Also, me, being a bit more accurate. For a while there, I was a bit inaccurate with the pitching, but I got a lot more consistent, and that kind of what made them pull the trigger.
So the way I understand it, is there different times a year where you play baseball in Australia with your clubs? Because the way I understand it, and during the winter, Berwick they're the Cougars, and then in the winter they're the Dodgers. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so there's summer and a winter league over here. We only get maybe like 4 weeks break during the year, but it's played all year round. And I played for Berwick in the summer league. That's usually the bigger league. More players play, and usually during the winter leagues, some of the better guys take time off for however long the season is, 6 months, 5 months. And for the winter, I would play at the team's called North Balwyn, which is just another state in the city I'm in. North Balwyn Stingers, we were called. B was the mascot. But there was some really good people at that team as well that definitely helped me in the last few years before I got signed. The head coach of that team was Phil Dale, was an old Major League legend. And there's a number of other guys that played on that team that were previously signed or currently signed, and just being around that kind of a thing at a local level was huge.
It's got to be great for you. I listened to you talk about all the people that helped shape you as a baseball player back with the Berwick City Baseball Club and back in Australia. And then you move into the Dodgers organization, and it's just a tremendous fit for guys like you, because the Dodgers want great people first, great baseball players second, and just hearing the way that you talk, the culture that you enjoy being around, it seems like although you're half a world away, I believe it's like 7,000 miles from Melbourne to Los Angeles. Although you're half a world away, it certainly seems like a great fit for you.
Yeah, for sure. The Dodgers organization, it's amazing. They pride themselves on culture, and the guys that are around there as well, they're all really good, really good people, as well as baseball players.
In the Dodgers organization, you sign as a undrafted free agent in 2020, right before the minor league season gets canceled. So take us through the process of how the Dodgers contacted you, how it all came down, and how you ended up accepting the undrafted free agent contract.
Yeah, so it was during the ABL season, that first ABL season that I was a part of. The coach of the team was John Diebel, and he's an international scout for the Dodgers. And he, had a lot of time to look at me. I mean, he's known me from when I was younger, but that season where I kind of took off a little more, velo increased quite a lot. I was throwing a lot more strikes. I had an off-speed pitch that was, getting in there for strikes as well. It kind of led him to make the decision to talk to me about it, at least first. I was working in marketing for 2 years before being signed by the Dodgers. I'd done my degree. I'd been in a 9-to-5 job, and it was kind of it was always the dream, but it was never the focus. And as I got better and better, my mind kind of shifted to, okay, maybe this might be an opportunity. And then, yeah, John Deeble gave me the chance, and I took it. Why not? See what happens, and it's paid off so far.
You took the 7,000-mile trip to Los Angeles, and I kind of giggle. I'm sure it wasn't funny to you because your 2021 was amazing. It was 7,000 miles to Los Angeles. Rancho Cucamonga, Low A is about 40 miles from LA. Then you get moved up from Rancho to Great Lakes, Michigan, which is about 900 miles from Rancho. Then you get moved down to, or not down geographically, but up as far as the organization goes, to AA Tulsa, which is about 800 miles from Great Lakes. So I think I added it up, and whenever you add in all the road trips you took with your teams, it was somewhere around 15,000 miles this year that you traveled to play baseball. So take us through all the travel.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy considering coming from over here in the local league where you drive 30 minutes down the road to the team that you're playing for the weekend. It's a lot different for sure. But yeah, that whole year was, I mean, it kept it exciting, kept everything new, and I kept pitching well. So it was, for me, such a good kind of experience as well, not only just for baseball, but traveling small town America and getting to see lots of really cool cities and see lots of teams and players that I may have known in the past from the ABL or from some even local players. It was really cool. Yeah.
You mentioned getting off to a good start, and you're being humble when you say that. You did not give up a run until you may not even know this, but just looking up your 2021 season, you did not give up a run through 14 innings. I mean, so basically when you got off to a start with Low A Rancho and then into AA Great Lakes, it took you 14 innings just to give up one run. Then in July, I'm sure this is a really cool experience for you. You got to get the last 3 outs of the very first no-hitter in Great Lakes franchise history. So take us through that great start that you got off to in 2021.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, for me, I was just trying to show, being the older guy in that younger group of guys. I'm 26 now. I was 26 during the year as well. It would have been 25. I turned 26 during the season, but yeah, being around all those younger guys and being able to show my stuff was really cool, and show that I'm serious about this. I'm not just some guy from Australia that likes to throw baseballs. I can actually pitch pretty well, and I got off to a really good start, and I didn't really notice for a while there, and I got messages from people saying, good job, like, well done. I think even one of my friends messaged me the night before I gave up the first run and said, "Oh, did you know you haven't given up a run yet?" I'm like, "Oh, damn, I didn't realize that."
Totally jinxed you, huh?
Yeah. Thanks for that. But yeah, going up into Great Lakes after having a really good start in Rancho was awesome, and that'll be forever one of my favorite kind of outings that I've had. The first outing in Great Lakes, I pitched a 2.1 inning save, which was really cool. It was the coldest weather that I've ever pitched in of all time. I think it was 35 degrees at one point, and I felt like I didn't get warm the whole outing, but that was so cool to do, and just show my stuff. Just the new guy, this new Australian guy that's come up to the team and have a really good outing like that was awesome. And then that kind of skyrocketed me for the next however many games it was that I had a scoreless streak as well, which was awesome. And then that when the no-hitter came up, that was such a shock to me because I didn't even know that it was a no-hitter until the 6th inning. Maybe we were all sitting up in the bullpen in Lake County, and one of the fans told us who's going to screw it up, like who's going to be the next guy to go in.
Oh no!
And then I was like, what? And then realized it was a no-hitter. And at that point I was the go-to guy for the closer role. So I wasn't expecting to be the guy that went in, but we were up by 14 runs. So I just wasn't sure whether they wanted to save me for another game that was a bit tighter or not. So I still didn't know that I was going in until the radio rang, and all that adrenaline came up, and it was a really cool experience to be a part of. Yeah, with multiple pitchers as well. Are all really good friends of mine. Always like that.
Yeah, and you talked about coming into the high leverage situations. Of course, it was a 14-run game, but having a no-hitter on the line, that's pretty high leverage. You finished out the three outs of the 2020 ABL championship, although it was, I believe it was like 10-1 or 11-1 at that point. But you've been put in the highest leverage of situations. You have great stuff. I've gotten a chance to see you probably 5 or 6 times at AA Tulsa. The big fastball that you sit probably 93, 94. You've hit 96, 97 with it from time to time. You have the really, really, really good slider. So take us through your stuff.
Yeah. Obviously, fastball is my go-to pitch. I love throwing the fastball up in the zone and getting some really good swing and misses. That was one of the big things of my year for sure. Looking at the stats, the swing and miss rate was really high. And
your strikeout ratio is huge, by the way.
Yeah. I was brought to know that the K percentage and the Ks per nine was up there in the all of minors, which was pretty cool to hear. Being my first year in pro ball, I didn't expect it at all. And having that fastball that blows guys away up in the zone, it just helps so much. And with my extension, because I'm tall and I've got a really good reach, it makes it even harder up to the top of the zone for hitters to kind of read it. So played into that quite a lot. And then with the slider, I worked on it a lot during the year as well. It was definitely a development thing. And halfway through the year, I definitely narrowed down and made it my pitch and got some really good tunneling off the fastball. And not only, swing and misses where the pitch is at the bottom of the zone, but even some really good backed up sliders to lefties to get strikeouts was really cool to me. And being able to control that was awesome.
Just watching you pitch live and then seeing some of your outings with Great Lakes. You also have an off-speed pitch that has a lot of what I call tumble, just straight 12-6 downward movement. Is that your slide? Is that what you're calling your slider then?
Yeah. It's what they like to tell me is it's gyro spin. It's got not almost perfect axis this way when it comes out of the hand. And when I get it right, it's a perfect kind of pitch off a fastball because it looks like a fastball for majority of the pitch and then just goes straight down. And that's something that I worked on in spring training. It went from a pitch that I was throwing 80 to 83 miles an hour to later in the season, getting it up to consistently 86, 87, which was perfect for me.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, having that downward movement as well on a pitch that's that kind of pace, it helps a lot.
Yeah, and you mentioned, the Dodgers talking to you about the spin and all this. I'm sure you had analytics offered to you that you never did. You have all those analytics back with the Melbourne Aces like you have it here?
Not anywhere near as much as it is in the Dodgers organization. They have everything under the sun. There was, I'm not sure, if you know some of the machines like Rapsodo or Megatronic, Fan, all that kind of stuff. We had a Rapsodo at the Aces and it picked up velo and a bit of spin, but we didn't really nearly use it as much. It was more, trying to pitch and trying to, I guess you could say, old school methods. But with the Dodgers, looking at spin rate and induced vertical break at the top of the zone and the way that certain pitches move on the spin axis, like looking at that kind of stuff, it makes you think of it in a different way and it helps you change the pitch to be more deceiving for sure.
Yeah, it definitely helps you if you understand how to use it properly to highlight what you do best. That's exactly what those machines are for. But we talked about 7,000 miles from Melbourne to LA, and then from Rancho to Great Lakes, 900 miles, and then from Great Lakes to Tulsa, 900 miles, and then all the way back to Australia, another 7,000 miles. So, you had a really busy 2021. Not only that, you threw more innings as a professional this year than you ever did by about 4 times. So I'm sure the beginning of your offseason had a lot of rest to it, but take us through after you got your body back right and after you got rested, what was the rest of your offseason like as you approach spring training here in a couple of weeks?
Yeah. So the end of the season, I headed back to Arizona for a month for instructional league. I went to strength camp, and I was there for a month. And the first 2 weeks, I took off throwing altogether. I didn't touch a baseball, and focused really on the lifting and making sure we're eating right and doing all the right things by ourselves to recover for the end of the season. And then we eventually started to play catch in the second 2 weeks of that month. Get right back into it, just really like kind of catch play. And from there, coming back to Australia at the end of that instructs month, it was, pretty much the same kind of stuff. I've just been working on my body and trying to put on a bit of size and strength. And now leading towards, further towards spring training, I've had a few more times off the mound and leading to 4 or 5 times a week playing catch now and throwing. It's getting closer and closer to what I need to be to, head back over.
Question that I'm very curious about, the minor league season started a month late and then it ended a month late as it normally does. Matter of fact, the AA season and AAA season went all the way into September this year, something I don't think it had ever done before. If it had, not very many times. What with all that travel, did your body wear down a little bit? Were you pretty exhausted when the season ended?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say I was totally a little burnt out for sure. Being my first season as well, I didn't know what to expect going into that last few months, how I was going to feel, and it happened. And going to the first month of AA was awesome. I pitched really well and even had some really good outings. And then the last couple of months, as everyone usually probably does in their first year, I definitely weighed down and did throw as many strikes and had a few bad outings, but it happens, and it probably humbled me, to be honest. After a really good year, I'll take that for granted and go into next year knowing what I need to be at for the whole season. Yeah.
Well, you have an absolutely amazing story of perseverance. You have an amazing story of just confidence and loving the game of baseball. I can only imagine, the amount of confidence you have to have in yourself to travel 7,000 miles away from home when you're already a professional pitcher, when you're already 25 years old, like you were, and put the challenge in front of you that you did. So for all of those kids that are out there that want to play professional baseball someday, that want to become and be in the position of Cameron Gibbens that you are in right now, what message do you have for those kids?
I think the biggest lesson I would have is never giving up. I started playing baseball really young, and I was never in the state teams, the representative teams for each level when I was growing up. But persevering and as you said, and keeping at it for a long time and trying to push myself every year, I led towards being a professional baseball player. And at the age of 25, 24, when I was signed, it doesn't usually happen, and it just shows that not that I was a nobody before, but I believe anybody can do anything when you put your mind to it. And I would say just don't give up. Yeah.
That's an awesome message, Cameron. I cannot thank you enough for coming on with Dodger Poke Report. This has been a wonderful experience for me. I hope to get to see you a lot of course, I got to see a lot in AA Tulsa, and I think I'm going to get to see a lot in Oklahoma City early on. And I hope then I don't get to see you at all, because that will mean it'll be in that place that I'm looking at right on your shirt there, and that would be in Los Angeles. And I have no doubt with the big fastball, the slider, the perseverance, the great attitude that you bring, that's where you'll end up. So thank you again so much for joining me on Dodger Poke Report, and best of luck to you.
Thank you so much, Casey. Pleasure to be on.